Hello everyone and Mr. Arnold's CLN4U class. Today we are looking at Unit 2, Activity 4, entitled Flashback. And we are specifically going down to the assignment entitled Answering the Inquiry Question. You can see here that this inquiry question is in fact incorrect, but I will change that for you. The inquiry question that we are looking at today is, has the legislation been effective in reaching our sustainable development goals? So you are specifically looking at legislation that has or has not been created to help the federal government or the Ontario government meet a sustainable development goal from your group. So the first piece that you need to know is some information about your sustainable development goal. The Sustainable Development Goal that I am using as an example is goal number 16, to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. So because we have recently looked at the Anti-Racism Act in the case of street checks in Ontario, I thought I would use that as an example. The first step in this particular project asks you to find a piece of legislation. The site that you are going to look for your legislation is called eLaws Ontario. eLaws Ontario. I know from our work yesterday and the notes that I took from that the name of the act is called the Anti-Racism Act. The Anti-Racism Act. If you have any questions about legislation or possibly some pieces of legislation that you might need for this, please let me know. Remember that you can also refer back to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms as your piece of legislation. So again, we're looking at the theme of inclusive and inclusive institutions. So I know that institutional racism is something that the Ontario government was looking to address in the Anti-Racism Act of 2017. So what I'm going to do now is I know that I need to add this act, this particular act, to Noodle Tools. So make sure that you have logged into Noodle Tools and created a new project. That new project is going to be entitled CLN4U Unit 2 Activity 4. The citation style is APA as usual, and the citation level is advanced. Take the time now to pause the video and create your new project. Excellent. Your next step is to start adding sources. And the first source that you want to add is the Anti-Racism Act. So as you can see, we have the Anti-Racism Act. The Ontario government is the publisher, and we have the citation here. The parts of that citation mean the following. 2017 is the publication date, and SO stands for Statutes of Ontario. We'll talk further about what the different pieces of citation means in a different lesson. Excellent. So once you've added to Noodle Tools as a website and then web page, you'll have your first citation for your bibliography for this activity, which is a requirement of this activity. you'll see on the Anti-Racism Act, it will have the date that it's consolidated to. The most recent date of consolidation, or e-law's currency date, is April 1st, 2021. So I can add that as my publication date. The web page or document title is the act itself. The website is eLaws Ontario. Then I simply click Save. And it adds it to the Noodle Tools bibliography. Excellent. You'll follow a similar step when we get to CANLI. So what I've done now is I've used the Anti-Racism Act as a simple Google search. And I've used that in the context of a local newspaper. In this case, the local newspaper being Guelph Today. I've included the links here for you. There's also CBC News, CTV News, and the Wellington Advertiser posted for you as well. What that came up with was a news article that says 10 years of anti-racist reports but little action taken at universities. And I know that this applies specifically to somewhere like the University of Guelph. So I would then add that as a website and web page. But please take note of what the publication date is of your article. Your publication date must be after the publication of your law. So the publication date of your article must be after the publication date of the law or legislation or act that you are evaluating. Excellent. Your next step is to use the key word from your piece of legislation in the Canadian Legal Information Network, or CANLI. This is where you search for a specific case. A specific case. I'm going to the first field and typing anti-racism. This will help you find more cases instead of just putting Anti-Racism Act. I'm now going to click on Search. And I've given a number of different cases. I can instantly rule out R.V. Cho because I see that the date is 1998. Remember that you need to pick cases that are after the publication of your act. So I know that I have Blackburn against Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario. And down here, I have R against Morris from 2018. I can safely use those two cases, or one of those two cases, because the case date is after the publication of the act itself. You can copy and paste in full text this citation. And that is the proper legal citation that you need for your Noodle Tools bibliography. And you do that in Noodle Tools by simply going to New Source, Website, Web Page, and Quick Cite Copy and Paste Citation. I've picked R.V. Morris specifically. I take this entire text, copy it, paste it into my copy and paste citation, and click Save. that has now been added to your Noodle Tools bibliography. Don't forget to add your newspaper article as well. It is from the newspaper article and the information or evidence from the case itself that you are going to determine if the Anti-Racism Act was successful in improving the rights of, in this case, just to review, the requirements for this activity are to find at least 3 sources to prove if the legislation has been effective in reaching your Sustainable Development Goal. Thanks very much, folks, and I will talk to you soon.